Good afternoon. My name is Don Buckley. I'm with EchoStar.
My name is Monica Tangi. I'm also with EchoStar.
We're here today to talk a little bit about EchoStar's transformation of complex software releases for our customer network, going through the set-top boxes using CA release automation and continuous delivery addition. Just a quick reminder, this is for informational purposes only. Disclaimer's right there. So the agenda for today is going to be, we're going to introduce you a little bit about who EchoStar is. We're going to talk a little bit about the SCM-DCM issues and the challenges that faces them. One of the key factors we want to look at is tackling the DCM issues. Was part of our first phase of this project, which is actually automating our stream build for the DCM group using CDE and RA as the mechanisms for that. We'll then talk a little bit about the stepping through the implementation process and some of the future enhancements that we're looking to implement as a future phase. I'm going to turn this over to Monica for a few minutes so she'll explain to you about EchoStar.
All right, now that I have the controller. We're part of a multi-billion-dollar industry. EchoStar used to be a part of DISH. We broke off from them approximately 9 years ago, so we could bring our products to the general market. And but we're still, DISH is our primary customer, and for DISH we actually developed the first DVR. We also recently, well, within the last couple of years, introduced the Hopper, which was a new concept that you had a client-host box situation. So it's become a system. We have 3 Hoppers and 4 Joeys at this point that can work together. So it's a good industry to be in. It's been a good industry even during recession times. People would not give up their TV, even though they'd give up other things. My group, I have the software configuration management and the download configuration management teams. The software configuration management team basically receives software from the developers, they rebuild it, they verify reproducibility, they check the changes to make sure that nothing is surprising of what comes in. They make sure and encrypt the software so that the boxes can't be hacked. And then they distribute the software either to the test group or my DCM group. My DCM group then takes this hexadecimal file and they convert it into an MPEG file. This MPEG file then gets tested, and we put it up on the satellite to stream down to the receivers so that we can update the receivers with new enhancements, new features, any kind of regulations that we have to develop for. There's a new regulation out for accessibility so that blind people can interact with the boxes. That'll be coming here in the short future. So you're not supposed to read the flow. This is just to give you an idea. We have approximately 40 manual processes at this point. So if you're looking, this is a high-level flow chart of what my DCM group does right now. It starts with the intake at the top, creating the environments, pulling together the documentation, each set all the way up to where we actually send it to the uplink. So a lot of manual steps, redundant steps. This is my SCM side. They also have a lot of manual steps with the build audit coming through, the preparation for signing, encrypting the actual software, and then all the post documentation that we have to do. We are details. We are the details. We are the keepers of the data integrity. We had a lot of challenges when it came to this. Of course, we've talked about over the 40 manual processes that we had to use. A lot of our errors are copy, paste, redundancy errors, transposition errors. You add an extra 0 to a range and you target 3 million people instead of 30,000. We have no metrics, really, to speak of. And it's been very hard. Somebody asked me how many streams we do in a year. I can tell you how many official streams we do. I cannot tell you how many of the fly-by-night, let's send one to test. We do have internal tools. Some of our tools are extremely old and out of date, and then the internal development and the support for these tools is slowly dying away. We started with DCM. In this flow of things, SCM's first, DCM second, but we started with DCM because DCM has the most visible errors. You see something goes wrong, everybody knows about it because from the VP on down, what made this stream go? Why isn't it working? Why are we killing set-top boxes? So we wanted to find a way to automate as many of the manual processes as possible. We wanted to alleviate simple errors. We wanted a tool that could be expandable. We actually interface with a lot of different organizations, and we want to be able to integrate with those organizations or be able to help expand our current tools into those organizations. And we also want to track metrics. So let it off to Don.
So as you can see here from the chart that you're seeing, this is actually a chart was developed by our test group showing the increase in errors that were going on, and that's how we came out with the 33% error ratio that we've been experiencing over the life of DCM, SCM as they produce these documents. Again, remember these documents are being produced to tell the satellite where to put the software and what top boxes to target. So it's very critical that we're correct on it, and with a 33% error rate, there's a lot of last-minute changes that we have to make sure we make to make sure we don't affect our customers. We have run over 10 million customers in North America. That includes Canada and Mexico. So again, as Monica was saying, we do have about, this is a kind of a high-level chart from, as you can see, from the initiation of the request through the build files, through creating documents, streaming build, testing the stream, the DL approval, as you saw through that video, and the sending to the spool. Now, sending to the spool is actually sending to another whole group, which is our compression team up in Cheyenne, and they actually then put it on the spoolers to send data up to the satellites. So you can see what, from this chart, out of the 40-plus processes that we were talking about that are manual, we're automating almost all of them except for two. The two that we cannot automate are to do with encryption, because that's a secured room. So one of the things we looked at was we were looking at our high-level criteria for automation. We wanted to look at the type of tools that were involved. So we need to know, we had worked with CA before, about 3 years ago. They came and did an audit. At that time, they had release automation, but because of the complexity of what we're trying to do, they found that even that because of our PHP system that we needed to hook into, that PHP couldn't provide the hooks necessary for just RA. So at that point, it was determined not that we couldn't proceed forward with RA. CA Technologies then released CDE, Continuous Delivery Edition. That gave us the management tool that we needed to be able to tell RA to execute. That tool, along with the custom front end that we built, allowed us to be able to go on and proceed with this project. We currently do have JIRA, we have Rally, we have AOM, we have multiple different management tools in place. So we also looked at the different tools we had set to see if, from a management standpoint, if they could help us out without incurring additional costs. We looked at open database sources, ASP.NET, and again, working with the CA Technology technicians and sales reps, we were able to come out when looking at CA release automation and the CDE model. What this slide right here is showing you is a little bit of our due diligence. We did look at JIRA and say, could we use JIRA along with RA and just be able to use JIRA in place of CDE? And, you know, JIRA is a project management software tool used for Agile. We thought we could do that. We did our due diligence, found out that would not work for us because, again, JIRA is a manual-based system where you go in and you put your results, and then in turns, we would then be still in a manual process, just having it, instead of on Excel or Word, we'd be using it in JIRA through user cases. What we determined was by creating a custom front end that has ASP.NET along with the CDE and RA components, we're now able to provide the REST services, we're able to provide the hooks we needed, we're able to automatically pull the data in that we wanted. So that was actually automating, not just going through and clicking buttons in another system instead of copy and pasting, but a true automated system. And this is what we took back to management. We took back actually 4 different models with the cost associated with those. And based on what we presented, they asked for our recommendation, and this was the recommendation we came up with because it did allow us the full flexibility going full automation. Again, as Monica said, she has 2 teams, DCM and SCM. This project is just related to the DCM, Download Configuration Manager team. We have multiple other projects going on with automation. I'll talk about those in a few minutes. So you can see deeper dive into the solution of why we picked CDRA. We had to build a custom front end. We used ASP.NET with our in-house developers, working in conjunction with our CA representatives, senior consultants, architects. We worked through, we were able to design a whole system that now, today, we're actually in the process of being able to build our files. And so we actually took CDE beyond just managing RA to say go execute, but it actually, these 2 components are actually building software for us, which is very unique because unlike what normally occurs is, we go through and say, okay, execute this step, execute this step, execute this step. We actually say, execute this step, bring this in, bring this in, bring this in, create this, and send this information back from the database, send this back to the custom front end. We call it the collector. We haven't come up with a fancy name for it yet. So the collector, and then it compiles everything based on the information that CDE and RA is providing to it. It's also changing REST services, working with REST services, and throughout the process, the states are changing, so notifications are going out where necessary. This is actually a look at our custom front end. This is, again, built with ASP.NET. So what happens is another whole system that our engineering group actually takes this information, they make a download request. They fill out what's called Katina document, and it's actually from there. We actually are watching that system through the use of RACDE, and when a new request comes in, we pull that data in, it comes into this web front end. It's marked as unassigned. At that point, a technician can go in there, actually assign it to them, so we know who's assigned it. It starts changing state that now it's been assigned. It goes through the process of actually building what's called a DAT file and building what she was talking about, building that stream. That stream is what's going up to the satellite to send down the set-top boxes. So as you got, if you've seen any of the RA products out on the floor, this is exactly it. These are actual download requests that are going on at that point. So you can see who's the owner, a little bit about it. Again, DCM Automation Collector, that's our custom ASP.NET, works with CARA, CA Release Automation, and then the CDE edition and for the triggers. So we're constantly monitoring back and forth. So these systems, these 3 systems, are constantly communicating back and forth with each other, and as new data is coming in, or approvals are occurring, or that we need to send something out for approval, the system does that for us now automatically, rather than what they were doing 4 to 5 hours to build a stream. We're working towards a 30-minute deployment for our part of the work. Other part of it, a little bit more deep dive, as everybody has probably seen based on this. Again, it's using the process for the automation where it's going through the different phases. Just like, being a program manager that I am, it's basically set, here's my phase for initiation, here's my build phase, and just like you've seen out probably in the center, it goes through and it automatically kicks off and looks for the next piece. And if one of the unique things we did with this system, if it's required that we need an approval, if it's required we're looking for some additional information, we can either manually override, or the system's already set to put a hold and stop in that particular space until the data is updated. When the data is updated, then it automatically continues on. So it allows us that capability. So what we actually built was email notifications. Our managers, our lead engineers, our project managers can click on that link. It'll take them right to an approval page. When they click on the approval page, it will continue on with this process because it says, okay, I started my approval process, and when all the approvals came in, it says, okay, all my approvals are in, and continues on the next step. So very fantastic on that one. And of course, from the dashboard, it's given us some good dashboard reporting that we're desperately looking for. We figured out right now, we put on a whiteboard all the different reports we're looking for, and we're actually looking at least 25 different types of reports from what our different management, PMs, engineering staff would be looking for. And the system will give us the metrics that we need to be able to pull those reports. Again, as you know from the product, if you've been into the product line out there in the center, a lot of dashboarding, a lot of metrics that we're able to look at quick. One of the things Monica's responsible for is she'll get called, and where are we at in the middle of this download process? Our customer, Dish, or one of our other customers might be saying, hey, what's up with this? Because I'm expecting this out tonight. I got customer service reps that are ready for this. Did it go? How's it going? We actually spool twice a day, depending on whether it's a test spool or it's an actual production spool at 4 and 11 p.m. So our customers need to know real time because they need to adjust to what's actually going out in the field to these up to 10 million set-top boxes. So they need to know that information. So I'm going to turn this back over to Monica, talk a bit more about the business side of the where we're going.
So phase one, what we wanted to do is replace, we have a tool called the Download Stream Builder, which creates the DAT file, and that was our first initial focus on phase one. However, as production moves through, it exploded. So we've actually gotten to the point where we can actually take a download request, go through the whole process, through the approval process, to be ready to send it up to the uplink. Our second phase that we're going to be launching in December is taking the SEM side. We've already done all the wireframes. We're already working on the development for that. So the overflow from phase one and phase two should all be launched by the end of this year. Phase three is an optimization phase. What we coded for, obviously, is what we currently do. But there are lots of areas where we can have improvement. There's lots of areas we can take out some of the stops that we, the checks and balances, because we can prove that the system is actually taking care of what we need it to take care of. So that'll start in the first quarter of 2017. Way future phases, we will integrate with the test team, the test organization, the software PMs, the beta organization, and the uplink centers. Our goal is to be able to go through this whole process, tie into the spoolers, and not have this compression team up at the uplink center have to actually physically take the file and move it onto the spoolers. But that's out towards the end of next year, because they have a lot of work to do on their side. So some of the proposed enhancements, like I just talked, pushing to the spooler directly. We want to get the information from the PMs. Right now they put things in through a homegrown system called Katina, and we want to be able to tie into their JIRA so that we can pull their dates, pull their information, that they have a one-stop entry. They're not having to go to two different systems. So that's one of the things. At some point, we'd like to have mobile capabilities for approvals. Quite often, people who have to do approvals on download documents, everything comes out at 5. It's too late. They've already gone out of the office. We're tracking them down. If they can approve on their phone, then it'll make that process faster. Advanced reporting, auto-generated reports will be very important. Like Don said, I have a whiteboard that has full, if you ever want to see a picture of it, Chip has one. Also, we want to be able to have some customer reporting. So like Don said, right now, Dish has to go through all these different people to find out what the status of things is, whereas our system can tie into one of their systems to give them up-to-date reports. And yes, this spooled, yes, it was successful, and yes, this is what you should be expecting from your customer base. We're also setting a phase for future analytics, a phase for growth, and a phase for expansion. EchoStar is really looking at starting to build out a corporate enterprise system, and we're the beginning of that within the corporate and with IT, and our VPs are getting on board with this. And so this was our first trial on working with CDE, working with RA, and seeing what we can do, and now what can we expand and grow from that. So pioneering innovation is, we're just moving forward. We're innovating, we're growing, we're expanding, we're taking processes and we're minimizing errors. The most frustrating errors is you get everything into test and they come back and they say, well, your approval document says this, but your other document says this. We're getting rid of those. So we chose DCM, as I said earlier, we chose DCM because it was the most visible when it came to errors. Everybody knew if there was a download issue, anytime there's a download issue, I'm the first person they call. Even though SEM leads into this, when we get the SEM part in, it's actually going to simplify the DCM part, because a lot of the information that DCM is gathering from our homegrown system actually comes in through SEM. So that'll clean up a lot more of that data. In our future phases, again, we want to eliminate emails, we want to have proper reporting, we want to continue to grow. Questions?